You've talked about it long enough. Dreamed, planned, waited, hesitated. But the clock didn't stop. The world didn't pause for your fears. And the truth? Action is the only language progress understands. If you want to change your life, stop. Waiting for the perfect time. There isn't one. Start now. Begin messy. Begin afraid. Begin uncertain. But for the love of your future, begin. Welcome to Unlocking Wisdom, a channel dedicated to awakening the fire within you through timeless truths, powerful voices, and soul-shifting insight. Here, we don't just talk change, we live it. You can speak of destiny all day, but only action has the power to fulfill it. Let me speak to the part of you that's tired of delay, the part of you that's exhausted from circling the same mountain of excuses, fears, and overthinking. You know exactly what I mean. That lingering voice that says, I'm almost ready, just one more book, one more course, one more sign. But behind every delay is a deeper battle, the war between intention and action. And unless you win that war, you will never know the life you were created for. I've seen this before, in the winter fields of battle, in the cold, cracked hands of men who had every reason to turn back but didn't. They moved forward not because they were fearless, but because they were faithful. Faithful to the cause, faithful to the future, faithful to something bigger than their comfort. And you right now are being called to the same kind of movement. Not the loud kind, not the showy kind, but the kind that starts from deep within, that sacred, powerful moment when you say, enough talk, it's time to act. Because you know, you feel it deep down. You weren't born for a life of observation. You were not designed to be a spectator. There's a mission etched into your very bones. And for far too long, it's been suffocating beneath the weight of hesitation. But today that ends, because nothing will change until you do. The dream doesn't work unless you do. Vision is useless if it never touches your feet. Let me be blunt. No one is coming to do it for you. Not the perfect mentor, not the right time, not a miracle email. Your life isn't waiting for circumstances, it's waiting for you. And every time you delay action, you're sending a message to your future self. I don't believe enough to begin. But starting isn't about having all the answers, it's about having enough courage to move with what you know. Even if it's small, even if it's clumsy, even if it scares you. Look back at every breakthrough in history. It wasn't born from endless talking, it was born from a step. One decision. One day when someone said, this ends with me, this begins with me. And that day is available to you now. The moment when excuses die and action takes the throne. You don't need another plan, you need a pulse, a reason. A fire so undeniable that you'd rather fail in movement than suffocate in stillness. But I get it. Action is terrifying because it makes your dreams real. Talking feels safe, it lets you fantasize without consequence. But action, it exposes, it reveals, and that's why so many stay stuck in almost. They'd rather be comfortably dreaming than dangerously becoming. But not you. If you've listened this far, it means something in you is stirring. Something ancient, something unstoppable. Something tired of potential and desperate for progress. So how do you start? You start anywhere. Don't romanticize the beginning. Begin badly. Begin with a whisper. Begin with what you have. Progress is built through movement, not magic. Make the phone call. Write the first page. Show up to the gym. Launch the website. Speak your truth. Take the leap. Because the first step is not about success, it's about ownership. And once you reclaim that, everything changes. And don't you dare wait for confidence to arrive. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a result. It comes after courage, after sweat, after commitment. It is forged in the fires of repetition and resistance. You do not need to feel ready to be ready. Readiness is a decision, not a feeling. And if you wait until you feel certain you'll never start, start while you're scared. Start while your voice shakes, because one day you'll look back and thank yourself not for being perfect, but for being brave. And when the voices of doubt rise up and they will you remind them who you are. Not what you feared, not what you lack, but who you choose to be. Action is how you claim your identity. Every time you move forward, you're telling the universe, I'm not here to exist. I'm here to become. You're not here to perform. You're here to build, to walk, to do. So I leave you with this. The next time you feel paralyzed by perfection, overwhelmed by the size of the dream, or seduced by the comfort of delay, remember this truth. You don't have to get it, right? You just have to get it going. The most powerful step you'll ever take is the first one. Not because it's flawless, but because it breaks the cycle. You are the catalyst. You are the spark. The vision lives through your hands. And the world is waiting not for your words, but for your action. True greatness is forged in silence, not applause. There comes a point on this path when the excitement fades, the noise stops, the crowd disappears, the likes, the praise, the support, they fall silent, and you're left with nothing but the sound of your own breath, your own heartbeat, and the road still ahead. This is where many turn back, not because they lack strength, but because they mistook applause for purpose. But listen to me now, you must not stop when it gets quiet. That's when you go deeper. That's when the real work begins. The beginning always feels good. Motivation is high, support flows in, and everything feels possible. But I promise you, that wave will not carry you all the way. Eventually, you will hit that moment when the world no longer claps for your effort, when no one checks in, when no one notices you're still showing up. And in that moment, you will meet yourself. Not the version of you the world sees, but the one behind the curtain, the one no one praises. The one still rising without recognition, and that's where greatness is born. Not on the stage, not under the spotlight, but in the silence where no one is watching, where no one is cheering, where it's just you, your grit, and your God-given reason to keep going. This is the crucible of the courageous, the place where intention becomes identity, where you don't keep going because of results, you keep going because of who you've decided to become. I remember the frost of Valley Forge, the cold so bitter it cut through the skin. My men had no boots, no warmth, no cheering crowds, no medals, just hunger, silence, and purpose. That was the test. That was the birthplace of a revolution. Not when the drums beat loudly, but when the wind howled through broken tents and bleeding feet. And still they stood, still they rose. Because courage was not a feeling, it was a choice. And that same choice lies before you now. Will you keep building when no one validates your effort? Will you keep showing up when no one sees the hours you put in? Will you keep trusting your vision when the evidence hasn't caught up yet? This is the part where most quit. But you, if you've come this far, you were not built to be most. You were built to be faithful to your fire. Because when you're consistent without an audience, you prove something sacred. I'm not doing this to be seen, I am doing this to become. You learn to stop feeding off the opinions of others and start fueling yourself from within. You grow roots, not just branches. And that internal strength, the one forged in discipline and devotion, it will carry you farther than any applause ever could. Make peace with being misunderstood for a while. Make peace with outgrowing old spaces. Make peace with walking alone. These are not punishments, they are preparations. Preparations for the next level of your life, where clarity replaces comfort, where depth replaces noise, where purpose replaces popularity. And do not resent the silence. It is the sacred space where your inner voice becomes louder, where you hear the whispers of your calling, where you remember that you're not here to impress, you're here to impact. And true impact is born in private long before it echoes in public. Let others chase attention. Let others seek validation. But you keep your eyes on the mission. The only hand you need on your shoulder right now is your own. The only voice you need to hear is the one inside you that refuses to quit. The one that says, I didn't come this far just to be noticed, I came to finish what I started. So keep showing up, keep refining, keep going when no one claps. Because one day, perhaps sooner than you think, those same people who overlooked you will look to you. Not because you demanded their applause, but because you outlived their doubt. And when that day comes, it won't be the applause that defines you. It will be the silence you endured, the hours no one saw, the strength you built in obscurity. That's where real power is born. That's where real leadership lives. That's where you rise not for approval, but because you can. So here's the truth. Your consistency in private will create results in public. Your discipline, when no one notices, will birth a legacy that no one can ignore. The silence is not your enemy, it is your anvil. And what you forge in it will be unshakable. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let it decide your next move. There will always be a voice, quiet at first, then louder as you get closer to your breakthrough. It speaks in doubts, it speaks in delays, it disguises itself as reason, as logic, even as wisdom. But don't be fooled. That voice is not your truth. It is fear cleverly dressed in concern. And if you listen too long, it will steal your moment, not with force, but with hesitation. Fear is persuasive. It whispers worst-case scenarios. It magnifies every weakness. It reminds you of every failure. And its greatest tactic, making you believe that waiting is wise. That pausing is preparation. That holding back is maturity. But listen to me, not every pause is wisdom. Sometimes it is just fear with a mask on. And if you let it, fear will trick you into staying in places you've already outgrown. I have known fear, not as an idea, but as a companion on the battlefield. I have stood beneath the shadow of armies, outnumbered and under-prepared. And yet, we did not wait for perfect conditions, because fear was always there, but so was purpose, so was duty, so was destiny. And in that moment, I learned something eternal. You don't need to silence fear to move forward. You only need to stop letting it lead. You see, fear doesn't vanish. It evolves. It changes faces when you start. It tells you you're not ready when you're growing. It tells you you'll be exposed. When you're succeeding, it tells you you'll lose. It all. So stop waiting for it to disappear. Instead, learn to walk with it behind you, not in front of you. And that's what I want to tell you now. Fear may knock, but you choose who answers. Fear may shout, but you control the volume. Fear may follow, but it does not get to lead. You are far more powerful than the voice of fear wants you to remember. But you will not reclaim that power by waiting to feel fearless. You reclaim it by choosing action in spite of fear. Because every step you take through fear breaks its hold on you. Every time you choose courage, fear loses its credibility. And let me be clear, courage doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes, courage is messy. Sometimes, it's quiet. Sometimes, it's one shaky breath, one bold sentence, one small decision no one else sees. But those are the moments that shape you. Those are the choices that stack up into transformation. You don't leap over fear, you walk through it, one intentional step at a time. Maybe right now, you're facing something that makes your chest tighten, a conversation you've avoided, a decision you keep postponing, a dream that feels bigger than your capacity. And the fear is telling you, not now, not yet, not you. But I came to remind you, fear is a liar, and its lies are only effective if you listen. What if I told you that the moment you're dreading the thing you fear might be the doorway to the life you've been praying for? That fear isn't a stop sign, but a signal that when fear shows up, it's often proof you're stepping into something sacred, something necessary, something aligned up, because fear doesn't chase the ordinary. Fear chases the meaningful. The closer you get to impact, to alignment, to destiny, the louder fear becomes. And that's your confirmation, not to retreat, but to rise. So don't try to escape fear. Befriend it. Let it become your compass. When it shows up, say, thank you, I must be on the right path. Then move. Do the thing scared. Speak up anyway. Show up anyway. Build anyway. Begin anyway. And if your hands shake, let them. If your voice cracks, let it. If you stumble, get back up. Because fear cannot win against consistency. It cannot outlast commitment. It cannot. Defeat someone who refuses to quit. You have a mission. You have a message. You have a light to carry into the world. And fear is just background noise. A fading echo trying to distract you from the truth already written on your soul. You were made for this. You are ready now. And you don't have to feel fearless to be unstoppable. So go. Take the step, even if it's small, even if it's uncertain. Because action is how you teach fear that it no longer holds the pen. Your story is yours to write. And it begins not when you talk about courage, but when you choose it. Revolutions are not born from leaps, but from footsteps repeated until the ground itself shifts. There's something sacred about a single step. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. It doesn't earn applause. But make no mistake, it holds the power to transform everything. Most people overlook it. They're too busy chasing breakthroughs, waiting for fireworks, hungering for moments that shout. But greatness doesn't shout. It whispers, it nudges, and it begins. With one step that is taken, and taken again, and taken still until the impossible bows. You want the big dream. I know you do. You want to change your life, rise above your past. Become the version of yourself you see in flashes when you close your eyes. And I believe you can. But let me tell you something few will. It will not come in one sweeping motion. It will not come with a dramatic aha. It will not arrive wrapped in clarity or comfort. It will come disguised as something ordinary, something daily, something like one choice done again, and again, and again. You want to know what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. It's not talent. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's relentless movement. The kind of movement that doesn't wait for motivation. That doesn't care if it's raining. That shows up when it's boring, when it's quiet, when it's hard. The kind of movement that begins with one small step and refuses to stop taking it. I have seen empires rise from dust and fall back into it. I have seen soldiers turn into legends not because they charged blindly, but because they never stopped marching forward. Even when it hurt, even when the road was unclear, even when the step felt insignificant. That kind of consistency, that quiet rebellion against stagnation is what reshapes futures. Let me be plain with you. If you take one aligned step every single day toward your goal, your growth, your purpose, your life will change. It is a mathematical certainty. Because momentum is not born from massive action once in a while. It is born from one decision, repeated with integrity. Do not underestimate what one small act, done with unwavering faith, can become. One page turns into a book. One workout turns into a transformation. One honest conversation heals a broken relationship. $1 saved becomes a fortune. One prayer spoken in the dark becomes a foundation of peace. One hard decision, one uncomfortable step can be the domino that knocks down every excuse you've built. But here's the part you must understand. Small steps only matter when they're done relentlessly. Anyone can be consistent for a week. Anyone can show up when it's new. The power is in becoming the kind of person who does the thing, even when it's not exciting anymore. Because discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. And it's built with small bricks, laid every single day. So, ask yourself, what is the one step I've been avoiding? What is the action I know I need to take? But keep delaying because it feels too small, too slow, too unseen. That's the step that holds your future. That's the step that rewrites your story. And that's the step you must take not once but over and over until the walls around your old life begin to crack. Let others chase intensity. You choose consistency. Let others wait for perfect timing. You make time serve you. Let others drown in indecision. You take the next step and let clarity meet you on the road. Because the truth is, you don't need a new strategy. You don't need another motivational video. You need a rhythm, a sacred, non-negotiable commitment to action. You need to show up for yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. So build your day around your becoming. Prioritize the step that leads you forward. Stop waiting for it to feel good. It may not, but it will build good things, and eventually those small, invisible steps will collide with time and become something undeniable. And when they do, when the world asks you, how did you do it? You won't say, I found a shortcut. You'll say, I never stopped walking. And that, my friend, is the kind of answer that builds nations. History never waited for the prepared. It answered the bold. You keep waiting to feel ready, to feel confident, to feel qualified, to feel like a leader. But what if I told you those feelings will never come before the moment? What if readiness isn't a place you arrive at but a result of stepping into what feels too big for you? Let me say it clearly. You will never feel ready for the calling on your life. You will never feel perfectly equipped for the assignment on your heart. And that's exactly why you must rise now. Not because you're certain, but because you are willing. I remember when I was called to lead an army against an empire. I didn't feel ready. I didn't have all the answers, but I did have a responsibility, a fire, a purpose bigger than fear. And in that fire, I learned that leadership isn't about having all the tools. It's about having the courage to pick them up and begin to build. Leadership is not a title. It's not a stage. It's not applause. It is the quiet choice to take ownership when others hesitate. It is the sacred burden of vision. It is moving forward when you are full of questions. It is believing in something greater than your comfort. And showing up even when no one else does. You think you need more time, more study, more approval. You think you need permission. But the truth, no one will ever give you permission to live the life you were born for. That's your decision. That's your moment. That's your sacred rebellion against delay. You're waiting to lead like the people you admire. But the people you admire didn't start polished. They started when it was messy, when it was hard, when they were laughed at, doubted, and dismissed. And they kept going not because they were sure, but because something inside them refused to shrink. And that's what you must find. That refusal, that internal yes to growth, to service, to rising even when the world says not yet. You don't lead because you're ready. You lead because something within you refuses to let fear dictate your future. And if you still feel unqualified, let me tell you this. The greatest leaders were not born ready, they were made ready by choosing to begin over and over, in the dark, in the chaos, in the uncertainty. They rose because they acted when others stalled. They moved when others paused. They carried vision when others buried theirs. So what if you're scared? So what if you're unsure? That doesn't disqualify you. It prepares you. Because humility and hunger together build leaders who do not just command. They serve, they endure, they become. And maybe right now, the people around you don't see you as a leader. That's okay. Leadership doesn't begin with recognition. It begins with responsibility. Taking responsibility for your words, your time, your energy, your direction, your impact. Maybe it's time you stopped waiting to be chosen. Maybe you were never meant to be discovered, you were meant to decide. Decide to rise, decide to act, decide to serve, decide to speak, decide to lead. Because someone is waiting for your voice. Someone is watching how you carry this season. Someone needs your story, your strength, your perseverance. And you cannot give them any of that if you're still waiting to feel worthy of the assignment. So step forward not with arrogance, but with authority, not with perfection, but with passion. Let your life be the proof that readiness is not a requirement, it's a reward. A reward that comes to those who begin anyway. Every time you lead when it's uncomfortable. Every time you act with integrity. When no one's watching. Every time you choose purpose over popularity. You become the kind of leader this world desperately needs. The battlefield of life does not need more talkers. It needs more builders. It needs more steady hands. It needs more brave hearts. And whether you feel like it or not, you are being called to rise, to walk forward, to take the space that was always meant for you. So don't wait for the spotlight. Shine where you stand. Don't wait for applause. Speak when it matters. Don't wait to feel ready. Lead anyway. Destiny isn't found. It's forged through sweat, silence, and relentless discipline. Most people will never become who they were meant to be, not because they lack passion, not because they didn't have dreams, but because they never learned to master the one force that separates potential from power discipline. I've seen it over and over. A person rises with fire in their soul, vision in their heart, and the hunger to change. But then come the days without excitement, the mornings when motivation is gone, the nights when no one claps, and in those spaces where nothing is loud, discipline becomes the voice that says, keep going anyway. Let me tell you something no one wants to hear. Passion fades, excitement lies, inspiration sleeps, but discipline is the hammer that builds a life worth living. It is not glamorous, it is not poetic, it does not impress, but it is essential. Discipline is choosing alignment over indulgence, focus over distraction, responsibility over excuse. It is saying no when everything in you wants the comfort of yes. It is waking up to the person you want to become, not the comfort you want to keep. Do you want to change your life? Then stop chasing the high of motivation and start honoring the rhythm of discipline. Because motivation may get you going, but it is discipline that keeps you becoming. And in this life, becoming is the only thing that matters. You want to build something eternal? You want to rise above your past? You want to become the kind of person who turns pain into purpose, fear into fire, and dreams into reality? Then, start with one sacred promise to yourself. I will show up no matter how I feel. Because the truth is, feelings are loud, but they are not loyal. They change like the wind. But discipline is a covenant. It's you saying, I will not abandon myself in the storm. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's not about doing it all at once. It's about doing the next right thing again and again. Discipline is holy. It teaches your body to follow your spirit. It trains your mind to serve your purpose. It bends time in your favor, because when you are consistent, you no longer chase. Results you create them. And yes, it will hurt. At first, discipline feels like war inside. A war between who you've been and who you're becoming. But that war is sacred. That tension is where transformation lives. Don't run from it. Stand in it. Fight in it. Choose your future over your feelings. Because here is the secret. Discipline leads to freedom. Real freedom. The kind that isn't dictated by your emotions, your past, or your circumstances. The kind that says, I can trust myself. I do what I say I will do. I'm a builder of my life, not a victim of it. I led men into battle not because I always felt brave, but because I lived by principles that were bigger than comfort. I disciplined my thoughts, my words, my actions, and through that discipline, I built legacy. Not because I was the strongest, but because I was the most committed. And so must you be. You must become unshakable in your habits, relentless in your rhythm. You must master the art of showing up when no one notices. You must be loyal to your future self, even when your present self screams for ease. Because success is not a reward for potential, it is the harvest of discipline sown in silence. Let others post about grind while they skip the work. You build in the dark. Let others talk about vision while they entertain distraction. You choose the task. Let others live by feelings. You live by standards. And slowly, day by day, your choices will shape you. Your routine will refine you. Your discipline will deliver you. Not because the world sees, but because you refused to disappear into mediocrity. So here's my command. Discipline yourself into the future you crave. Build rituals. Create structure. Say no with strength. Say yes with direction. Protect your energy like it's gold, because it is. Honor your time. Break your excuses. And walk every day as if eternity is watching, because it is. Your words may echo briefly, but your actions echo through generations. You have spoken long enough. You have dreamed hard enough. You have waited patiently, maybe too patiently. And now the question stands before you like a monument carved in silence, What will you leave behind? Not in words, not in wishes, not in thoughts, but in action. In legacy. In life that outlives you. Most people think legacy is built in old age. In reflective years, after accomplishments have stacked high. They believe legacy is the final chapter. But they are wrong. Legacy is not something you leave behind. It is something you build every single day with the choices you make, the values you live, and the courage you summon when no one else believes. You don't build legacy with announcements. You build it with alignment. Alignment between your words and your walk. Between what you say matters and what you actually prioritize. Because legacy is forged in private moments of character. When no one is watching. When quitting would be easier. When compromise whispers sweet. When the crowd walks one way and you choose another. That is where the foundation is poured. I have walked through battlefields soaked in blood and silence. I have seen men rise in fire and fall in fear. And I've learned this. The strongest legacy is not in the medals or monuments. It is in the unseen decisions to keep doing what is right, long after the world forgets your name. That is what lives on. That is what echoes through time. You may think your life is small, that what you do doesn't matter. But I tell you this, your life is writing history right now. Every moment you rise early to build, every time you act with integrity, every time you honor your values instead of your mood, every time you choose principle over popularity, you are leaving a trail behind you, and someone will follow it. You want your children to be brave, then be the one who faced fear and still acted. You want others to live with purpose? Then let them see what it looks like when someone fights for theirs. You want to see light in this world? Then become the flame. Don't just hope for change be the reason it begins. You must stop asking, will this make a difference? And start declaring, it already is. Because legacy is not made with certainty. It is made with consistency. Not in a single grand act, but in a lifetime of small, bold, aligned actions. Let others talk. Let others plan endlessly. Let others wait for approval. You act, you build. You live so fully aligned with who you were made to be that when you are gone, the ground itself remembers your footsteps. Because the truth is, the world will forget many names, but it will never forget the ripple of a life lived with courage. The echo of someone who chose action over delay. Who lived their truth louder than they ever spoke it. That's how you write legacy. That's how you become immortal in the only way that matters. This is your final call, not to one more dream, but to one more day of doing, of rising, of showing up even when it's thankless, of building with bare hands and unwavering heart. Not because anyone asked you to, but because you were born to. Let your legacy be this. I did not wait. I did not waste. I did not waver. I acted. I built. I endured. And I became. If you're ready to leave a legacy of action, comment I choose legacy below. Like this video and subscribe to Unlocking Wisdom, because the world is not moved by what we say, but forever changed by what we do.